Truth Teller series continues. A lot of truth needed in this sport. A lot of truth needed this time of year. And what we like to do is we like to point our finger. We just blindfold ourselves, point our finger. And tonight, the finger is pointed a long way away from here. Eugene, Oregon. The truth about Dan Lanning. Not lies. What's the truth about Dan Lanning? Well, I wrote my truth about Dan Lanning. And it's one sentence, and here it is right here. The truth about Dan Lanning. He's one of the top head coaches in college football. Sometimes I have to pause and look at the live chat, see what people think about that. Now, knowing our audience and knowing my replies like I think I do, we will get pushback on that sentence. And I will ask, why are we getting pushback on that sentence? Because Dan Lanning unequivocally is one of the top head coaches in college football. Now, you did notice what I didn't say. I didn't say the top. I didn't even say top 3, but I would say one of the top head coaches in college football. Now, here's my case for that, and you feel free in the comments to state your opposition. They have won double-digit games every season he's been there. They won the Big Ten in 2024. They beat Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State during that year, so they didn't duck the tough teams. They have finished inside the CFP top 8 the last 3 years. Also, just keep in mind, in the midst of this little run, he lost a head coach caliber offensive coordinator. Kenny Dillingham was so good that Arizona State hired him. And then Lanning takes Will Stein and inserts him, and Will Stein's so good, Kentucky hires him. So now they've promoted from within up there. And so in his 4 years, he's already cycled twice in offensive coordinator. Their recruiting average has been number 4 in the country. During his time there, they've been a top 10 portal team. I really think they've been like a top 5 portal team. And here's what the pushback will be. Mark my words, I'm live on air right now, but I know what the comments will be. There will be many people, despite what I just said, they will say, what has Dan Lanning won? You say he's one of the top head coaches in college football. What has he won? Well, I just told you what he's won. But this is, of course, the group that believes if you haven't won a national title, you haven't won anything. So you either have won a national championship or you got nothing to talk about, nothing to brag about. There's might as well be nothing on the Wikipedia page. Erase the bio entirely. You've done nothing. Well, I want you to give me the knock. The knock is he doesn't finish. I know what the knock is. It's rhetorical. The knock is he doesn't finish. So his great crime, Dan Lanning's great crime at Oregon so far, is basically losing to the team that's either going to be in the national title game or win the national title. It was DeBoer a few years ago at Washington. Then it was Ryan Day at Ohio State. Then last year, it was Curt Cignetti in Indiana. So go back and look at what I said, or listen to what I said. Because what I said, my truth about Dan Lanning, which I think is the truth about him, is he's one of the top head coaches in college football. Every bit of the pushback about him not being able to finish and them not getting the job done in the playoff can be true, and my theory, my truth still be right. Because so far, he's done exactly what, let's just throw a number out. Let's say he's the number 6 head coach in college football. Number 5, number 4, whatever. He has done so far what the number 5 head coach in college football would do. Done really good in talent acquisition, done really good in winning a vast majority of his games, and then he runs up on someone that would be ranked above him, and he loses to him. That's kind of what the 5th overall head coach in college football would do. So none of that's inaccurate. I see his resume. I've watched all the games. I've been at most of them. Nothing's inaccurate about that. I just always am quick to remind people of one thing, and that is Dan Lanning, you look at his driver's license, says he's 39 years old. Hey, do me one favor right here. Look down. Are you subscribed to the channel? If you are, thank you. If you're not, please click subscribe. It helps us keep the show free and free of corporate interference. All right, that's it for me. Back to the clip. Nick Saban just retired a couple of years ago, pretty widely regarded as the best to ever do it. Had 7 national championships when he retired. Nick Saban was 52 years old when he won his first title. That was at LSU in 2003. Lanning is 13 years younger than that right now. So you're just going to have to forgive me if I don't look at Dan Lanning's lack of national championship notches on his belt and think, well, I mean, that guy sucks. If he hadn't gotten it done in the first half decade of his head coaching career, he's not going to get it done. And the reason, aside from common sense, that I don't go down that route is because I saw people do it with Kirby and I saw people do it with Ryan Day. People with Kirby Smart watched him win a whole bunch of games at Georgia. Ironically, he kept running into Saban in Alabama, and they lost, and they lost, and they lost. And then all of a sudden they didn't lose, and they won a national title. Then they won another one the next year for good measure. And now no one says Kirby can't win the big one anymore. And then they just turned their attention to Columbus, Ohio, and they talked about Ryan Day being born on third base, and he can't really win the big one. He's been gift-wrapped this great situation, but they just can't get it done. And, oh, look, they can't even beat Michigan. And then they found a way not to beat Michigan and still win a national title. And then they beat Michigan last year for good measure. Now no one's doubting Ryan Day anymore for the time being. And these people never disappear. They just turn their attention elsewhere. And right now it is Steve Sarkisian and it's Dan Lanning. And those are the two that are the latest in the can't win the big one club. And eventually they will. And then it'll eventually become someone else. But what did all those guys have in common? They had in common the age-old adage that Meemaw taught us from birth, and that is there is a big difference in cannot versus have not. And the fact with Kirby for a long time was not that he could not win it, it's just that he hadn't. Same with Ryan Day. Same with Dan Lanning right now. Dan Lanning will win a national title at Oregon. Steve Sarkisian will win a national title at Texas. At least I think they will. And then they will be no different a coach than they are right now. If Lanning wins a national title in 10 months, he will be no different a head coach than he is right now. But there is a certain, kind of perspective that a certain kind of person has on this sport where they will think Dan Lanning transformed himself because his Wikipedia page has another sentence on it that it didn't used to have. I've never looked at it that way. I would ask that person right now, not in January of 2027. Right now, I'm going to have a head coaching draft. We're drafting for the next 5 years' results. How far are we going to get in that draft before Dan Lanning comes off the board? I don't think very far. So, I think Dan Lanning's one of the best head coaches in college football and probably still has another rung or two on his personal and professional ladder he can climb.